Hello. So we're doing a little podcast, and I'm going to speak very polite, also for the girls, which you'll see in a minute why, and also for Steph's page. Steph is having technical difficulties, guys. So I'm really sorry. You're just stuck with D on Steph's page, and on my page, you all know me, my troops. We are going to have a small little podcast to introduce small friend, tall friends. Which Rebecca, are you a small friend? Am I wrong? You're a
I'm
small
a tall
friend,
friend.
and so is well, tall friend, small friend, small friend. Tall. I've
Yeah.
already got it wrong before we've even started, but you do sketches and would say pretty funny out in Canada. Is that correct?
I mean, that's what we hope people will say.
So tell me a bit about yourselves. What is it you actually do? Do you do online? Do you have shows? What actually you do so you can introduce yourself to our there's some people saying hello. So that's Melanie, that both our fans. So hi Melanie. But Zoe and Rebecca, so if you just want to give us a wee intro about yourselves, and that's little in English, in Scottish we say we.
Yeah. So we are Small Friend, Tall Friend. We created this sketch group, this sketch company, early last year, and we've been working on it ever since. We are doing 2 fringe festivals in Ontario this year, the Toronto Fringe Festival and the Hamilton Fringe Festival. And yeah, I'm the tall friend and I'm the
So he's
small
a
friend.
small friend. I hope that's height and not talent. We're not trying to
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
No,
height. It's hard to see us here, but if
yeah.
you see us in
yeah,
real life, it is.
Is there quite a significant difference in height, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
significant.
Becky. Sorry, I saw
Yeah.
Rebecca. We call her Becky. Is 5'9" and I'm 5 foot, which is like
Yeah,
looks.
that's quite a bit. Yeah, that's quite a bit. So that means you just put you in her pocket when you're going anywhere to save on. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's small jokes coming out now. Sorry, so Zoe, I'm sure you've heard them all.
It's
You
okay.
know, I've
They're
got a
just
cousin. I've got a
material.
cousin Maria who's small, and every small joke online, I send it to her, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she loves me. But so, do you think you're better than me? So what's the kind of idea behind your show, and what's the funny? Just tell us a bit about it. A bit.
Well, do you think you're better than me came from? Because we had to come up with a title quick when we applied for these fringe festivals. So we were kind of, even before we had most of the sketches ready, we kind of just like understood like these are kind of the themes we're talking about. And some of the themes are just like silly. Like one of the sketches is me telling Becky that I don't like her boyfriend because he's short. Um, and then just like a lot of like kind of silly, like Gen Z dating, yada, yada, stuff like that, that is sort of relatable to us.
Oh, dating, guys. Do you actually think you could help me out with dating? I'm terrible at it. No one will go out with me, but you believe that?
I'm worse. I'm worse. I can't help you.
We can't give you advice on that. A lot of our sketches weirdly have to do with like dating or relationships, and meanwhile we know nothing about those, and and we're batting zero currently. So
But that's a
we
thing. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
No, go
Okay,
talk over it
so
like that.
because we also talk about some like serious topics like misogyny or racism, but we still draw that into like the silly, relatable things. Like for example, our opening song is about like, wow, nobody wants to date us because we're funny. That's the problem.
It's a thing. It's a thing. You see, if we were men, we would be having women swamped all over, or whoever we fancied. Because even men of
Yeah,
the LGBTQ community that are comedians get hundreds of men, and then same. But us women, it's a thing. I'm so glad that it's the same in Canada. Not that I'm not. I'm too excited about the fact that you can't get a
it's
boyfriend and whatever,
universal.
but I'm excited that you're the same as me. So,
Yeah.
it's hard, isn't it? The comedy. So, do you do online stuff as well, or do you just do stage stuff?
So far, we've only done stage stuff. We performed like in Toronto a bunch, and like familiarized ourselves with like this community. Um, and the online stuff that we do is mostly to promote the group. Um, but we've seen our fair share of like online comedy. We don't know if we're there yet. Like TikToks and Instagram and that kind of stuff. We don't know if we're there yet, but maybe sometime in the future.
Don't do TikTok.
Yeah, honestly, we don't want to, so that's
We're
It's
also famous.
ruthless.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we're
go, Joy.
sorry. I'm saying we're horrible at writing short sketches.
Mm.
And TikTok is just like joke, 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 30 seconds, and I'm like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's like punchline before the breathe, whereas stage shows, as you know, it's the warm up, then the punchline. Whereas online, it's quick, quick, quick. Let's get this in the 2 minutes, and it's like your stage. I do both, but I must admit the stages for me is more relaxed than doing it online, because online you've got to be quick to the punch because people are making their dinner, they've got to be interested, so it is dead
Yeah.
difficult. So what's your show? And what's the kind? I know you've told me the stuff, so tell me a bit more about it. What's funny? What would you say is current in it? What kind of who are you marketing to, or are you just hoping that everybody will like it?
Well, our show is very we aimed for it to be very satirical. And Zoe and I went to theater school together,
Yeah,
and a lot of our work in theater school was very based in themes of um, colonialism and racism and, you know, pretty heavy topics. And we wanted to bring that same kind of passion that we have for those things into our comedy. And so we started with things being very, like, very message forward.
yeah,
Um, but we quickly learned that there's ways to do that while also being silly and goofy and just making the kind of comedy that we would laugh at.
yeah.
So I think like a running theme throughout our
So what
sketches and our
what
interaction.
kind of comedy do you laugh at? That'll be a good starting point to get your style. So what kind of comedy do you model your comedy on?
So much. I'll name two of my favorite shows, and then I'll let Zoe name two of her favorite inspirations. But um, my top two that I feel like I pull from a lot are a show called Pen 15. I don't know if that's popular in the UK or not,
I
but it
don't know, but
is.
it could be because I'm terrible, so probably it could be. I would let. Is this popular over here, guys? Put in the comments, because you know these one tunnel vision, and it could be so popular, and I'm just like, where, what, why? So it
Fair
could
enough.
be.
Yeah, maybe it's not. It is an American show, and also the other one is American as well. I love I Think You Should Leave. It's a sketch show on Netflix. Um,
Yeah, I know that one.
yeah, that's like one of my all-time favorite shows. I could watch it a billion times over and still feel entertained by it. Um, so I think a lot of my writing and my comedy pulls from those two things. The first one is Pen 15 is very like awkward to like preteen girls. Um, you know, they're very cringy, but they're so genuine and they're so
Yeah,
funny. Um, and they're a great duo, the two of them. It's Maya Erskine and wait, correct me if I'm wrong. I forget her last name, but Zoe's looking that up for me. Um,
Anna
Conkle, yeah,
Conkle.
Anna Conkle. They're the two of them are so great together and like such a good example of two, like a female comedian duo. And so I pull inspiration from them a lot. And then I Think You Should Leave is so silly and ridiculous, and I love it.
amazing. So Zoe, what about you, darling?
Similarly on the route of Pen 15, other like who is also a small friend, tall friend combo. Um, I I like writing sketches. I like writing musical comedy more, so we have a couple songs in the show. And I would say like some of my
Mm.
inspirations for that are like people like Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and Garfunkel and Oates. I like watched their 30-minute special and I was like, Becky, I'm so inspired. I'm writing the opening number to our show. It's gonna be great. Because I
Yeah.
just feel like,
Mm.
yeah, it's very like also like humiliating. This is relatable, but also think about this.
Mhm.
Um, I would say some of those are some of my inspirations.
Yeah, see, I like to do observation as well as have a hidden message. I do a lot of comedy, but it usually from things that have been traumatic or stuff, but I can put jokes into them to get thought process going. So I think in a different way, you're going down the same genre. Like, I want to get the message over, but I want you to laugh enough to listen to the end.
Mhm.
Would that sound a bit accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I think a lot of the when people see something silly, they're very like quick to laugh, right? Because it's not something they would typically see, but then there is a message if you like look closer and think about it, like the one sketch that Zoe mentioned of um Zoe's like in the sketch Zoe's upset with me because my boyfriend is too short. like it's so ridiculous and funny because the boyfriend is a great person, but if you like really look into it, it's about like gender expectation and the, standards we put on men, the standards we put on women, and what we expect from them. So there is like an underlying message to each thing, but we're of the mindset that like if it doesn't hit you that way, then it doesn't hit you that way, and that's fine too, and just enjoy the jokes as they are.
I'm sorry, Becky, but I'm still not going out with anyone that's shorter than me.
And that's okay. And that's okay. That's because that's how you feel, and that's real. And you might just take the joke away from that, and that's great.
Yeah, I get the joke because it's one of my things. My friends like, you're 42, you're 5'7", you're really ruling out a lot of men, and I'm like, I can't go out with someone shorter than me. I just cannot, and that's like the expectation, the limitation, the gender. Must be taller, and and I've done it. I've seen really hot guys, and I'm like, oh, he's 5'4". So that's such a relatable. It is a true thing, but putting the funny end on it shows you how ridiculous how you limit your expectations on someone's height. You know what I mean? And it's real to me because I do that. So what are the main topics you touch on, and how do you perform them in the comedic manner while still getting your main message across? So how do you do it basically?
I mean, honestly, I think like, well, Zoe and we collaborate on everything. So even sketches that we write individually, like I'll write a sketch and bring it to Zoe and like consult with her, ask her for notes and see if she thinks it's funny. And if she doesn't, I throw it straight in the garbage. But there's I think each of our sketches have a theme. Like, for example, we have a sketch called Girl Games. That's about it's about like how video games are very targeted for boys and young men, and they feature men as well. Like any fighting game might have like 3 female characters, but and all of them are like heavily over sexualized, and all of the like really cool characters are the male characters. So Girl Games is a video game for men, but it's feminist because it has women at the forefront. However,
Ah,
it still has all of the negative connotations that come with some video games, like, themes of war and destruction and weapons and all these kinds of like violence and
yeah.
whatever, but it's considered feminist because it's has female characters. So
I'm so glad you mentioned like games. My son's actually just away to access, and I got to forget about video games for half an hour. So thanks very much for that.
no, so sorry. You have to get-
But I get, because all I hear, like, my child is the sweetest little boy, obviously, because I'm his mum, and I'm going to say that. But he is right. He's so polite, and then he goes on that video game, and I'm like, "Who are you?
Yeah.
Who is my child?" Because he's like pure
Yeah.
shouting. He's like, "Get him, shoot him!" I'm like,
Yeah.
so
I
it's
know.
quite. But I get what you mean, because I've went up and it's like COD and stuff that they play, and it's very limited to the females that's on the game, and if they are on it, they're there as an accessory like they used to be, rather than being an important part. Apart from Tomb Raider, that's about the only one I can think of that is female lead and sort of. So I get that. So tell me more about your Girl Games. What are you doing an actual sketch about it, or is it a game that you've designed?
No, it's a sketch. And we use projection in our show. And so we have like videos that Zoe like edited and made together of like the games that we've created in our heads. And the the way that we're able to like tell this story while also like getting the message across is like the game itself is so silly, and we like Zoe and I and one of our other cast members, Stephanie, is like we are playing the characters in the video game. So of course
Right.
it's funny to anybody watching because it's silly, but people get the idea that like, okay, we're saying things like one of the lines in the show is um like war and destruction is for everyone regardless of gender. Of course, war and destruction, nobody wants those things. but that's what Girl Games is promoting. So I think we're able to get the message across while also being like really over exaggerated and silly.
So I
And
mean, if you're PMD, if like you've got PMT or PMD, like you're just like, no, we're just going to go in and we're going in here and we're just going to take into water today, and like, hormones are going to take over the game. No, is that
yeah.
just ideally a good game? No.
Well, I mean, yeah, that like all of these like preconceived ideas that come with women in a video
Yeah.
game, it's like they're there, but they're so silly, and it's like you could laugh again, like you could laugh just at the joke, or you could look into it and be like, oh, that's like kind of crazy, and we don't see women in video games like that.
We don't. It isn't until you've mentioned it they're actually telling me about it that that is so true. We don't. Right, let's get a letter in. We don't have enough video games with women in it. So, what was the most difficult sketch to work on that's in the show? If one of you would want to answer that.
I think it'll probably be different for both of us because I think some of them were like practically different where we're like, oh my God, we can't even do this until we have like the production elements in it. But I would say for me, we have a sketch called Empathy in Me that I wrote that's about like it's like a play on 23andMe, and basically it's like a DNA test that it's playing on the notion of like men only feel bad for women that are related to them. And it's kind of just like a DNA test that proves you're related to someone so that you can feel bad for them after they come out with like an allegation or something serious. And for me, it's the most difficult sketch because I'm like, I feel like this is difficult content. And our like male characters are saying some really like heinous things in the first couple of seconds that kind of is met with like a mix of laughter and groaning, especially one line. There's one line that kills me every single night because it's either a lot of laughter, silence, or groans.
Yeah.
And it's worth it once the punchline comes in. But it's just like for me, like I feel like ethically, comedically, everything, I'm just like I like wanted to cut it from the show like a billion times, and now I'm glad I didn't because it's turned out to be a lot of people's favorites, like one of their favorite sketches. But for me, that's the difficult one that I'm just like, oh my God, are they gonna laugh tonight?
That's like all my shows. I think Kane, being my manager, would sometimes, can we just cut all of that and start again? I'm like, no, the public will love it. And he's like, I'm not sure we can do this anywhere. And then I do it, and I'm like, it worked. And he's sweating in the corner going, it did. It just did.
Yeah.
Totally. So through your process, you must have had sketches that you ended up cutting that did not work out for you. What was that process like? So obviously, if you've had stuff that you thought, right, we've worked so hard on this, then you've put it together, and then you've had to like take it down and cut it out. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's definitely hard because all of the sketches, even if we don't like love them, they feel very personal. Like it feels personal to cut them. For example, Zoe and I had a sketch that we wrote very early on that we both loved so much. And then we read it to other people, our friends and actors, and they didn't laugh at all. They didn't get it. They didn't think it was funny. They just maybe didn't understand the content, or the jokes weren't just hitting them enough. And then we were like, wow, so this is what it's like to create something that isn't funny at all and be delusional when you think it is funny.
Yeah.
It's tough though because we personally liked the sketch, but we know that like it was lacking certain elements to actually make an audience laugh and make an audience engage. So like that one was an easy chop, but our show, Do You Think You're Better Than Me, in the 2 Fringe festivals is only 60 minutes. So we did have a lot of sketches to cut. And that was kind of the tough part because you have to kind of decide which sketches fit into the theme of the show. And like some sketches get left behind. It doesn't mean we'll never perform them, but they're just not in this run, and that is like a little tough.
Are you scared about how it will land, or you think, the thing is, you've got to just go with it, haven't you? And having to such condense such down. Did you have arguments on, or did you have quite? I mean, I know me and Steph, if we stayed next door, we'd probably have been charged now some of the times when we argue and fight. But did you get to a point where you had to really just go, no, we need to decide, because you maybe had different ideas, or was it such a simple process where you were both coming off the same page?
Honestly, for the most part, we were on the same page because it was getting close when we were like, we need to have a final script. We need to give this to designers, and like our actors and everything. But I think for the most part, it was less of a no, Becky, this sketch sucks. We need to cut it, and more of like a, these are my top 10, and then like trying to be nice, be like, sorry, I took this one out, but it's like, no, I love that one. No, let's put it back in.
Yeah.
It was more of like a wait, no, we need to add this.
Yous are so sweet. Me and Steph call each other the worst amount of things. We say it and he's like, no, that's okay, darling. Steph would be like, listen, we're doing it and it's staying there. And if
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. So maybe
Yeah.
we could actually learn that bit of decorum and that middle ground with you. Maybe that will stop us maybe pulling each other's hair out and sometimes Kane maybe turning to the drink. You know,
Yeah.
that might be a thing. But just in a roundup sort of thing to round up, because I know obviously you're going out to a different audience and, you know, meeting me for the first time. And you get the time you get to relax is the time you thought, oh, I should have said this. But if you were to kind of sum up your show, what would you say was so good about it? Hi, Macy. What would you say if these guys were to come and see you when you eventually maybe come to the UK, the Fringe or Soho or whatever it might be, which I anticipate could happen because you seem not just funny, but you also seem very clever. And if you know my fans will say, I don't say things to people just to butter them up. I say them because I mean them. You've got such a nice vibration about you. So if you were coming to the UK with this, what would you say? Was it quirky? What would you say about, even though you're touching on subjects, what kind of feel does it have, would you say, if you were marketing it to UK?
I think a lot of the in feedback that we've got from audiences and reviewers in Toronto and Canada, we've gotten the word topical a lot, and that kind of is our favorite word. We tend to we feed on whatever is happening in the world around us. And yeah, we're definitely goofy and a lot of our stuff is ridiculous, but it's also topical and relevant, I think, for today. On the question of who are we marketing to, I think like younger, like Gen Z, we get called Gen Z a lot because we are, but but like that was another word that comes up a lot in our reviews, and I think like Gen Z audiences relate to us more,
Yeah.
but I think the fact that it's topical means that everybody can kind of relate to it and understand it. I don't know,
And
what did you say?
I would say topical, and not just in like the serious issues that we mentioned, but also pop culture. And I'll say yes, Gen Z, but we've been called Gen Z by the reviewers that are like 40 plus and enjoyed our show.
Yeah.
So I want to believe that everyone would enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, guys, this has just been a wee small introduction to these lovely girls who are doing their Fringe, cutting down such of their wonderful material down to 16 minutes. 16 minutes, did you say?
Yeah. A whole hour, yeah.
Right, 60 minutes.
Yes,
60.
60, yeah.
I was
sorry.
I was like 16 minutes, you could definitely do TikTok, you know. You'll be fine on there if you've cut all that down to 16 minutes.
Yeah.
But 60-minute show, and it's going to be Hamilton and Ontario, is that right?
Toronto Fringe and
Toronto
Hamilton Fringe.
and Hamilton out in Canada, and hopefully you'll get the bug to come online and market some of your stuff. So when you do come over to the UK, not if, when you do come over to the UK, you can have a base that already can be your cheerleaders, because the thing is, online, it is scary, but you know what, girls, it's such a great place to market yourself. It's so much than going. I mean, I've done the whole, and I still do it. Let's get a pizza and a pint. Well, not a pint now because I don't drink, but a pizza and a cola, and get the bucket where you get £1 each and stuff, and do that to market my stuff. But the online gives you such a lot, and the subjects you're talking about, they being joked about, we want to keep that in there. I'd love to follow them online. So there you go. Steph Barker's already, she's one of mine and Steph's fans. She's already saying, and we've only spoke for 25 minutes, and there's people already that have calculated and interested in you. It's been absolutely lovely. I have noticed already, Zoe, though, that Becky is the Steph of the two, and you do need to put, right, shut up, Becky, it's my turn to speak. So it's but all joking aside, these have been absolutely lovely. It's been so good to talk to. Small friend, tall friend, We hope to hear from you lots and lots, especially in the UK. And I'm being totally honest, it's been absolute pleasure to speak to you both. I wish you all well in your Fringe adventure and furthermore where you go from there. All right, girls. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. So nice talking to you.